A computer once beat me at chess, but it was no match for me at kickboxing.
Grab a chair, mess you with, and it's a down. It's my podcast. This guy's insane. Rock your brain. It's just a sound. A Steve here
Hey, Schmack and McGob, it's time for part 3 of the Cheap Trick Discography, and I have with me Mr. BJ Kramp. Hello, BJ.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you want to kill me yet?
No.
All right.
Just wound you.
Just wound me. Just shoot me in the kneecap. No, don't do that. I need to be on my knees for a lot of reasons. You laugh at my sexual desires. And the Podfather, the great Ken Mills. Hi there, Ken.
Hey, that's me. Hi, Ralph. Glad to be back. Love you, Dr. Fuck. It's wonderful to be back here to talk about one of the greatest bands in the world, Cheap Trick.
And you know why? BJ, just to let you know, the reason Ken loves me, do not shoot me in the kneecaps. That's all I got to say.
That's right. Hot.
And I also have the great author of Still Compilation. Still Competition from the Cheap Trick. Of the novel The Cheap Trick. The expert. Well, they're all experts here. Mr. Robert Lawson. Hi, Robert.
Hey, guys. Great to be with you and a lot of fun talking about these albums.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun. It gets better as we get along, as we go along. But let's get into it. Where we left off last week. Huh? What? Huh?
Yeah. Let's do that. But first, I wanna send a shout out to Mike Hayes, who should be on this call. We love you, Mike, and we love your book. It's another great book about Cheap Trick. What's it called, Robert?
That is Reputation is a Fragile Thing by my good friend Mike Hayes.
That's right.
I had a really great lunch with Mike a year ago. With my wife, and it was really great to finally bond face to face and have a really good chat about all things about being Cheap Trick fans and also about being Cheap Trick authors.
And I just got to throw in, when I first got on the internet back in '99, I think one of the first thing I ever ordered online was his book.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great book. Right on. All right, let's get into part 3. Okay, now we go to the reunion one, Lap of Luxury. Like I told you guys, I saw them live. I do remember they played Never Had a Lot to Lose when I saw them live. I think Let Go as well. I think they did 2 tracks. I don't remember them playing The Flame. But I was just so happy that Tom Peterson came back. And it was huge. The Flame exploded. And I was so happy for them, and I bought the album, and honestly, I like this album way more now than I did back then. It still has its clunkers, but there's a lot of songs on here I like, and then there's some songs on here that I think are great, and they're ruined by a little section of the song, and I'll get into that later. Well, I should say about it now. The song Space. I really like that song, but then it goes into this weird thing that I hate. That ruins it for me. And but I do think there's some standout tracks on this one. I love All Wound Up, and there's just a few tracks, and I was very happy to see them back. And they came down here many times. They played a free show on the beach, and they were just a touring machine then. Again, and it really brought them back, and I was so happy. And you think about how the music industry is today. We would have never had an In Color. You know what I mean? Because Cheap Trick didn't sell well. 77 didn't sell well. So look at how much Epic kept holding on to this band. With how many albums were just not selling. And then, for them not to get dropped out to the doctor, it's like, man, there must be somebody in the band blowing somebody. But
well, there was blow involved.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, blow jobs. But
oh, thank you.
You're welcome there, Robert.
Stiff competition.
Still competition.
No, the porno still.
Yeah.
Stiff competition.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did find a porno set still competition, and boy, that guy does look like Robert in that clip.
Oh my.
Robert, what do you think of Lap of Luxury?
I think it's pretty crummy. Not a lot on it that I can really get behind. Um, the idea of them covering an Elvis song, I'm totally into it. The really overly processed backing vocals are really fake, and I hate that kind of thing. It never had a lot to lose. You can tell that that's a good one live in concert, and uh, we've heard him do it live, and it's a lot better. But Ghost Town is kind of interesting that Diane Warren kind of helped out on it, but then there was some legal stuff going on with Rick that he was able to reduce her royalties, that she didn't actually co-write it with him. Mike Hayes told me that, and Brian probably has this, but Rick's original demo from the one-on-one sessions, it's not that different than the version that they released on this album. So,
Yeah, I've never heard it.
oh no,
Yeah,
okay,
he had it all the way back then. Yeah.
yeah. So apparently it's not that different. So I don't know how Diane Warren got in there, but
I think Clive claims he has it, but he can't find it or something like that. I don't know.
Clive, stand up and be counted. So that's it. I mean, Space is a cover of a Charlie Sexton song. I don't mind Charlie Sexton. I've seen him with Dylan many times, but I really don't under. Anytime they do a cover like that, I know that it's not the band's choice. I know that that's a record label thing. If Rick Nielsen decides that they're going to do a cover like Day Tripper, I get it. If the label wants them to cover something to be more poppy, then I'm not on board with that.
Right. How about you, Ken? What do you think of Lap of Luxury?
It was really nice to have people pay attention to the band, and I didn't feel like I had to be the band's personal street team. You know what I mean? It was amazing. It was amazing, and it's when I took notes for this tonight, I wrote down like an abbreviated version of each album title, right? Like IC for In Color, so there's the code. You cracked the code. Anyway, this is LOL. It's just coming out today. You know what I mean? Yeah, but in some ways, it's a return to being in the public ear again, right? So I'm happy.
All right, BJ.
Well, yeah, it definitely saved their career, but I think that you said how were they not dropped after the Doctor, and I think this album is the answer. It's like the record company said, we're only going to put out another record by you if you do this song, and you work with this person, and we get full approval over everything you do. And so this is like the record company cracking the whip, with the band and shaping what this album is going to be in a lot of ways. So there's not a lot of Cheap Trick personality here.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. Well, all right, what would be your favorite and least favorite on here, BJ?
Well, my favorite is Let Go. I really love that song. Love it a lot. And least favorite is, I guess it's Space. Not into that song.
You like No Mercy more than Space, dude?
No Mercy's not good either. I mean, the bad songs on this album are the ones without Rick Nielsen's name on them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So.
Right. Ken.
I'm gonna go Wrong Side of Love. It doesn't really jump out at me. If not that, it would be Space. Those are the two that I don't really care for that much.
I like both those songs.
Well, that's cool.
I really do. I'm such an idiot.
My favorite song is The Flame. I'm gonna say The Flame. I don't care whether BJ throws something at me or not. It's the performance by Robin Zander is so goddamn fucking good that there's no reason that anyone ever badmouthed this song.
Right on. Robert?
Well, Robin does a great job on that song for sure. I wouldn't argue with that, but I think you already covered me, Ralph.
No, I'm saying favorite and least favorite.
Yeah, I thought you already covered.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right, I'll go.
Just fucking roll with it, Robert.
The first two tracks.
If you ask me twice, the songs are going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What are you drinking again?
Glenfiddich single malt Scotch.
Yeah, that'll do it.
There you go.
My favorite and least favorite are the first two tracks. Let Go's my favorite. No Mercy's my least favorite.
Wow.
All right, and the record company pressure continues on the next album called Busted. And
Boy, does it ever.
Yeah, this one. Again, there's some songs I like on here, and there's most songs I don't. I think it just sounds like what Heart was doing at the time. Didn't they have like the same producer?
Yeah.
Didn't he do Crazy Nights too?
That was
Who
kind of
wrote-
Richie Zito did these two records.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds like what Heart was pushing out. It's like, all right, we had a big hit with The Flame. Now you're going to do a bunch of flames on this album, and we'll throw in a couple somewhat rockers. There is one song on here I absolutely love, though, a lot. And but there's quite a few filler on this. And yeah, that 80s production with that little tinkle bells type of little keyboard ding ding ding, it just drove me nuts. But it's got its plus and minuses, and I would put this in the same level as a Lap of Luxury. It's not horrible, but it's not great. But I'd love to know what BJ thinks of Busted.
Yeah, it has its moments, but it's not a good Cheap Trick album. This is the point where Cheap Trick are making music for the parents instead of the kids. That's
Right.
what this record is like. It's like it's just the edge is completely gone.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of sad to see them reduced to this to try to sell records and keep their record deal and whatever. Yeah, it's kind of depressing. But there are songs I like quite a bit. So.
All right. Ken.
It's serviceable.
Robert.
Moving on. Well, all right. Yeah, I don't have much for this one. It's like they had a big hit with The Flame, and I agree with Ken that Robin does a great version of it. I love his vocal on it. So now we have another Diane Warren song just to try to do a second, The Flame Part 2 or something. I got no time for that. I like Can't Stop Falling in Love. I wish Chrissy Hynde was heard a little bit more on Walk Away. I don't know. It's just it's a real, to me, corporate record company album. And I didn't get into Cheap Trick in 1977 to listen to corporate record company music.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, I'll go with my favorite, least favorite. My favorite on here is Walk Away. That waltzy type. I love that song. My least favorite would probably be God, which one would it be?
It's not easy.
Yeah, there is quite a few clunkers on here. Wherever would I be? And it was even a video for it, a very interesting video where they're all playing the same places they were in past videos.
Yeah.
It was very interesting, the video, but yeah, I guess that one. Or If You Need Me. It's a toss up between those two. But I have to bring this up because if there's any Trick Chat podcast that sticks to my mind was when you guys talked about Busted and slammed, not my favorite song, but probably my second favorite one on here, You Drive, I Steer. I love that fucking song. You guys were like, really? I was like, wait a second, really? Out of all the clunkers on this album, you guys went nuts on that one. And I couldn't understand it because, number one, I think it rocks. I love the little mentions of past albums and songs.
Yeah.
And I was quite perplexed. And that's the night I fell in love with BJ.
You mean him or just BJ's?
Yeah. Once you watch the Stiff Competition, you'll really love it.
All right, BJ, give me your favorite and oh wow, I wonder what your least favorite is.
Yeah, my favorite is for sure I Can't Understand It, which is the most Cheap Trick sounding song on the whole record.
I actually like that tune. That's a good
And
tune.
that's a great song, really fun. And yes, You Drive All Steers is the least favorite. It's got that
Why?
kind of,
Why?
it's got that fucking Fabulous Thunderbirds kind of vibe that I hate. Like George
Yeah.
Thorogood kind of shit
Oh,
that
I
I
don't
just
like that
can't
shit either.
stand. And that song to me has that kind of a vibe to it that just really turns me off.
Yeah, but you know what, BJ? You weren't the only one slamming it. Ken, what's your favorite and least favorite on here?
Well, surprise, surprise, surprise. But You Drive, I'll Steer is the one that I'm going to kick out of the car.
Yeah.
I will say that Busted was an album that benefited most from us doing the roundtable because here's my Busted story. I bought it, I listened to it once, and I put it away until we did the roundtable. And
When you
I
guys
fell
had
in love.
that, when you guys had that encounter at Rocket Pod, which one drove and which one steered?
I drove.
There you
I'm all man.
I'm all man, lady. Anyway, but you know, this album really benefited from not being disappointed in Cheap Trick and going through everything we've been through since this album came out. And I got to listen to the songs just because they're songs, not because they're on this album or that album or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that affects everything. My two contenders for my favorite songs on this are I Had to Make You Mine, which is such an homage to their love of the Beatles. I mean, it's there, you know what I'm saying? And the other one is Walk Away. And it doesn't hurt that I also am major in love with Chrissie Hynde to this day. So today I'm going to pick Walk Away as my favorite track, with Had to Make You Mine as second.
My second favorite, Ken, is You'll Drive, I'll Steer.
Hot.
Robert, what's your favorite and least favorite on here?
Do I have one?
I don't know. Next album. No, go ahead.
Well, I like Can't Stop Falling in Love a lot, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here that I have no use for. So I'm not really not a fan of this album at all. The Beatles stuff on Had to Make You Mine, yeah, it's kind of interesting and fun, but yeah, not really a fan.
I want to say this before we leave this project, this album here, okay? The video for Can't Stop Falling in Love or Stank Cop Falling into Love, one or the other. If they wouldn't have done that comic book thing, I think it would have been a bigger hit. Seriously.
Mm.
Right. It was
Because
intended for Rod Stewart, correct?
It sounds like a Rod Stewart song.
I believe they gave it to him and he rejected it. I think I read that in your book, Robert.
Yeah, I mean that's what I had uncovered, that it was submitted to him. I don't know if him or his producers or whatever reason they didn't do it, but boy does it sound like a perfect Rod Stewart song.
Well, yeah,
I can't believe even after all these years that he hasn't done it. But he hasn't done Hard Luck Woman neither, so
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Songs Rod Stewart should be singing is the next Rod Stewart album.
There's a
but
demo that they did of Can't Stop Falling into Love with a singer from Milwaukee, I think, singing it. That was what they did to submit to Rod Stewart, like without Robin even singing it.
yeah, it was Harvey Scales.
Right.
And so yeah, maybe I mean, I've heard it.
Yeah.
So maybe
we played it on the show.
Yeah, so maybe they just couldn't picture Rod doing it somehow or something. But you know, for a few years there, Rod was just doing like nothing but cover albums. He had this great American Songbook series that went on way too long. They needed an album of 70s covers. I thought Hard Luck Woman was going to be on that for sure, and it wasn't. But I'd still love to hear him do Can't Stop Falling in Love. I think it would be one of Rod's greatest later era songs.
Yeah, and that one part where I mean, you could just bang Rod in the 80s singing that would have been a surefire top 10 hit.
Yeah,
Well,
it probably would have been a big hit. You know,
I'm sure
But
it would have been a big. I'd mention it to him, but Rod and I had a really bad falling out years ago, so he's not gonna listen to me. He doesn't like me much.
But since this isn't the Vieira Vault Rod Stewart version, I guess we should get back to Cheap Trick.
Well, Rod Stewart ain't talking to me anymore because I was the cause of him getting his stomach pumped at a hospital. Hey, I was a little built up that day, man. It's been a while. Anyway, all right. Let's go next. I got to give you guys a funny story about the next album. Woke Up with a Monster. Really early on when that album first came out, they came down here opening for Meatloaf. And I loved Woke Up with a Monster. I was like, okay, now this one is the best since All Shook Up, in my opinion. I was like, now I'm loving this album. And I'll never forget meeting a guy in a Cheap Trick shirt that was sitting in the same aisle. I had a girlfriend at the time, and he was like on the other side. So then we switched chairs, and she got pissed at me because we were talking Cheap Trick. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He goes, so what do you think of Woke Up with a Monster? I was like, man, I love it. He's like, dude, that album sucks, man. I mean, from Busted to that. And I was like, whoa, man, this is the wrong Cheap Trick fan I want to talk to, you know? It was like mind blowing how he thought this sucked and Busted was far superior. But man, this album to me, I mean, it's still not perfect like Cheap Trick. It doesn't at times sound like Cheap Trick, but then there is the menacing, and there's so much catchy stuff on this album. A lot of great hooks, you know, on You're All I Want to Do. I love Robin's voice on Cry Baby. He like really screams his ass off on that one. Girlfriend, which is pretty much a Bad Boy Boogie from AC/DC. It's the same damn song if you listen to it. And title track, Never Run Out of Love. But then there is some real terrible songs on here that I'll talk about when I pick my least favorite. But I'm curious what BJ thinks of Woke Up with a Monster.
It's a really strong record. Yeah, it was a good comeback that just flopped miserably. You know, one story I heard is that one reason that the label just kind of shit-canned the album is that Terry Reid had already sold You're All I Want to Do to some other band, and it caused a big legal headache when the record came out, and the label was just like, we didn't even want to deal with this. But yeah, it's got a couple of bad songs, but most of the songs are really good. It's sure weird that Ted Templeman produced it, because I don't really hear that in the record very much.
Right.
Especially since there's so many kind of ballady songs on it and stuff. I think it might be another case like Jack Douglas's name on Standing on the Edge, where Ted Templeman let the engineer do more of the production work. Because I know he was in A&R with the label at the time, and maybe he was part of the band getting signed and just was like going to be attached as producer, but I don't really know. Greg Renoff had tried to talk to him about it because he's writing Ted Templeman's autobiography, and yeah, Ted Templeman kind of said, yeah, I didn't really do much on that. I wasn't really very involved with that record, so.
Interesting. Robert.
Great kind of hard rock record. It's good after so many albums of all this pop stuff that and not authentic pop stuff. That it's a real good guitar record. There is some good songs. I think it gets cast aside by fans just because of the cover. Maybe they think it's going to sound like The Doctor or something, but it doesn't. So yeah, it's got some good stuff on it. I know when it was finally released on vinyl just like a year or two ago, a lot of Cheap Trick fans were really happy to finally get it on wax. Yeah, that was a real big deal to get this on vinyl.
I was playing it today. Go ahead.
What's so great about it is they made it look exactly like it would have looked when it came out back then, you know. I love that they did it that way.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Terrible album cover though.
Oh, it's the worst. Ken said The Doctor was the worst. No, this is the worst.
I'd have to agree with BJ on that.
Then they didn't even use their logo. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. The only Cheap Trick album, right?
Yeah.
Here's a question I have for you. Would you have felt better if on the woman's hind end the Cheap Trick logo would have been? How would you felt about that?
It still would have sucked. It's still a terrible cover, you know.
I think
I
this
think
and the,
it. I
Go
think
ahead.
it might have gone back to Epic. I think I had heard some kind of rumor that they couldn't use the logo because of
Oh,
Epic, but I don't know.
and
Right.
it's so ugly, that logo.
Yeah.
It's
I think
terrible.
this and the Doctor are a two-way tie for last
Yeah, that,
for
No, this
album
is
covers.
worse. This
Yeah,
is
but
worse, man.
yeah, but there's a
Is it?
woman's butt on it, so it gives. I go for that.
Yeah. See,
If you need something to crank to, you can at least
Well,
there you.
the Doctor wasn't going to look that weird on the shelf in 1986. This album cover was not going to sell this album to anyone.
yeah.
You know?
And 94, no way. You know, I'm not a
Yeah.
big fan of Heaven Tonight's album cover. I think that one's kind of boring. You guys like that?
sexy.
No, it
Really?
is boring, but it's
Yeah,
at
it's
least
not
the
a
band.
great album cover. I mean, but at least it's got the two guys on the front, two on the back things going for it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt like, I mean, I don't mind in color. You know, it looks kind of cool and funny when you flip it over. But Heaven Tonight's just like, I don't know, man. Couldn't you pick even Robin looks bored. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? You know?
I like to hold it
Yeah.
next to Springsteen's Darkness on the Edge of Town and pretend that they're all hanging out together.
Yeah.
That they're all miserable
Yeah,
at the
that's right.
party ever.
They're all sad.
Ken, so what do you think of Woke Up with a Monster?
Well, we see some of the personality of the band coming back, right? Because I don't think at this point that the record companies, up their ass since they're not with Epic anymore. I think they were given a little bit more creative freedom, and it shows. And it's teeing up what's going to be coming. As much as I dislike the logo or the cover or whatever, what really matters is the music. And to me, one of the songs on here goes back, as far as I'm concerned, to the first album. It's that good. So,
all right. And what would that be, Ken?
Well, I'll give you my worst and best and worst. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ride the Pony can fuck off.
Okay.
And I really love You're All I Want to Do. Just a great song. Hooks for days. Everybody's on board. And then there's Woke Up with the Monster. But for tonight, I'm picking Woke Up with a Monster. And there's a band called the Toadies that did a song called Possum Kingdom, which reminds me of Woke Up with a Monster in a way. Same kind of psychotic kind of thing going on. And it just shows that I remember when this album came out, a lot of bands were giving them good press at the time, Nirvana and so on and so forth. So Woke Up with a Monster to me touches some of that first menacing weirdness that you didn't know quite what to do with this band. And I love it.
Right on. What would be your what would be your favorite and least favorite, BJ?
I would have to say You're All I Want to Do is my favorite. Such a great melody, and Robin is so amazing on that song. That's a really great pop song.
Yeah.
And least favorite, definitely Ride the Pony. One of the worst Cheap Trick songs ever.
How about you, Robert?
Probably the same. I really like You're All I Want to Do for the same reasons that Brian said. But and Ride the Pony that's a mess. It's just. But Girlfriends really bothers me that it's such a ripoff of AC/DC's Bad Boy Boogie.
It's exactly, even the vocal structure, everything. I like it though, but I can hear it.
I just like it better when it was called Bad Boy Boogie.
Well, me too, of course. Right across the board, we all agree. You're All I Want to Do is one of my favorites. It'd probably be. I'd have to stick that in the top 20 favorite Cheap Trick songs. And yeah, man, Ride the Pony. What the fuck's up with that? And I think I read it in your book. Like Robin Zander was very proud of it. He was like, I want this on the album or something. I know there was some. He was very proud of that song.
Well, it's an outtake from his solo album.
Oh, okay.
So it was originally recorded for the '93 solo album, and somehow they thought they could do it better, that it was worth revisiting.
That solo album, I liked a couple tracks, but I wasn't really too much into that album. Did you guys like this solo album?
I like it.
There's
I
good
like
songs.
I like
It was-
half of it. You know.
Yeah, but it also kind of typifies where we're at with current Cheap Trick albums. So
Okay, so now we go into what I would think is the best album since All Shook Up.
Here we go.
The self-titled '97 album. An album that, man, I'll never forget when I bought it on CD and it brought that little extra CD. Every song to me on here, I don't dislike any song. So when I pick a least favorite, it's going to be a song I like. But this is an album that, man, it was like, I was happy with Woke Up With a Monster, but Woke Up With a Monster, it still had a little bit of the baggage of Busted and Lap of Luxury. I mean, it wasn't so slick, but you kind of felt a little bit of what you were saying earlier. Who was it that said adult contemporary music,
Yeah.
It did have a flavor of it on some of the songs. This album is raw. There's even the ballads are dark, except, the last track. But, man, this album, it was just like, wow. Now, this is what I've been waiting for all this time. This is like, Woke Up With Who? And I was loving that album, but now I just totally forgot about it because I just felt like this is a band that's no longer shackled. No, I don't see nobody whispering in their ear what to do, how to do it. The fine people at Red Ant just said, do what you want. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like there's no outside writers. That if there were, they were collaborating with the band. It was all original songs. Maybe they had a couple people here help them out. But I absolutely love this album. And to tell you the truth, I don't think and you're gonna hear me say how much I love some albums after this, but this one I don't think has been topped yet. But BJ disagrees, right?
No, it's a great album.
But do you think any album topped this afterwards? I know a specific album. I know you.
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah. Okay. I know that one.
But I'm looking at the track listing. I've been clicking ahead on Wikipedia to each album and looking at the track listing.
I'm doing the same thing.
Me too.
It's like all of the last how many albums, there's always like these 3 songs towards the end that are kind of bad. But you look at this one and there's nothing that stands out as, being a clunker on this record. It's just all the way through. It's really strong. And it's one of those great kind of albums that feels really cohesive. It doesn't feel like individual songs. It fits together as a record,
Well said.
That's always great.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Like the first album, it's kind of doesn't
Right.
sound like the first album, but it has that. You got the little dementedness, you got the little ballady things, but Ken.
Well, you say it's like the first album, but it's not like for example, when Kiss did Psycho Circus, their template was Destroyer, right? Whether they were successful or not, that was their starting point.
They destroyed it.
Yeah, they absolutely did. But
I think it was a mix of Destroyer and Revenge.
Yeah.
Revenge.
They just say that all the time.
Yeah.
But the only reason that we say that this album is like the first album is because they're both so amazingly good. They're just amazingly good. You cannot not love these two albums if you love Cheap Trick. You know what I'm saying? This is it. This is distilled Cheap Trick. This is the stuff that we've seen diluted on all the other albums. It's one of those things where it's a concentrated. This is the full strength Cheap Trick, right?
Yeah.
This and that first album, there's no watering down, right? And it's weird because BJ said that Busted was now doing music for the parents. I think that they're doing music for parents, but here's the difference. The first album were people like me who were teens when we heard the first album, and then when we hear Cheap Trick '97, now we're probably on our first or second divorce, and it's still because to me this album stinks of divorce, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that there's seems to be an experience that you're going through, and it could be that I was going through my first divorce when this album came out. This album was a lifesaver, quite seriously. It made me feel like I wasn't alone and I wasn't, crazy or whatever. But damn, so damn good. And then, what's on the album cover, guys?
Right.
Yeah. It's just like a reminiscent of In Color and Heaven Tonight, but it's their instruments.
But it's backwards, right?
Yeah.
You've got the drum and Rick. You've got Bunny and
That's right. You're right.
front. And on the back, you've got Tom and Robin. So it's a switch. And when you're dealing with the music really matters, these guys get the front this time.
I like this cover too.
It is. It's great. It'd be a great poster, great print.
I have it, Ken. I have the poster.
Well, if you ever leave to move to another planet, leave it to me.
All right, I will. I'll will it to you.
Thank you.
But yeah, because when it came out, and it's two-sided, just like the poster, the album, the front and the back, and I knew a guy that owned a record store at that time, and I was like, "Can I have that, please?" Because he had it rolled up, and I already knew what it was, even rolled up the little piece. I was like, "Dude, is that the new Cheap Trick? Can I have that?" Sure, here, take it. I was like, "Thank you." All right, Robert. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
I said you didn't even have to give him a sleeve job. That was nice of you.
No, actually, I did. He didn't ask for it, but I had to do it.
Well, you know what a sleeve job is, don't you?
Does it involve my mouth on his penis?
No.
No, I didn't do that then. The sleeve job.
That's where you wear a long sleeve T-shirt or a sweatshirt, and you don't want to get your hands dirty, but you do a sleeve job, and that's when you fold the sleeve down over your hand and do that. So
I don't understand why you didn't do that to me. You wore gloves. I mean, why don't you just use your sleeve?
I was looking out for you. Sometimes the sleeves can chafe.
He's looking out for
number one. Yeah, there you go, Jinx. All right. Enough of you, lover. Robert, what do you think?
I love the record as well. A real return to form. Real big fan of this album. I just loved how dark they went, and I agree with you, Ralph, that you can tell that this is them making an album together again. Any of the outside songwriters are actually like friends of theirs, like the guys from the Mavericks, which is different than the label forcing people like Diane Warren or whoever on them. So it's a real organic sounding album. It sounds like they did most of it live in the studio, though of course lots of extra guitars overdubbed. Just fantastic. Robin is amazing on it. For people who only kind of knew them for the Flame or for some of the 80s pop kind of stuff, this is practically a metal record compared to some of those albums. Just lots of loud, ugly guitars. Great album. Great return to form. Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, and a side note, on my other podcast, Rock and Metal, we reviewed this with Robert Lawson. And it was a great episode because Ian liked the album too. When he doesn't like albums, our episodes suck because he's too unhinged. Anyway, so all right, Robert, or any of you, any news, any rumors, or anything of this coming out on vinyl?
I haven't heard anything.
God, if there's ever. Yeah.
I wonder what the situation is like with the rights to it, because the label went out of business and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
By the way,
go ahead.
You were talking about the Woke Up with the Monster cover for the vinyl. Special thanks to John Hughes and his team over at Rhino. So.
Wow, and Rhino's
awesome. They did it perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, Rhino's awesome too, man. Those Black Sabbath 180s.
Because what's great about it is like there's no Rhino logo on it. There's nothing on it that says it came out when it did. They just made it look like as if Warner Brothers put it out in '94. That's what I love about it.
That's absolutely on purpose. And when I talked to
Yeah,
John, he
for
said
sure.
that's what they were doing. So
Yeah, it's perfect. I love it.
That is so awesome. I was just listening to that vinyl today, actually. And it took me forever to get it. I actually had to special order it. I couldn't get it online for some reason. It was hard to get when it first came out. But anyway, all right. I'm gonna go with my favorite and least favorite. I really want to say goodbye because say goodbye is so perfect, and I love it. But I'm gonna have to go with anytime. It's just the way that starts, and right off the bat, I hear voices inside my head. All of them just want to talk to you. That's pure Rick Nielsen.
Yeah.
It's just so demented, and then when the band kicks in and he's screaming his ass off, there's just something about that song. And again, I would probably put that in my maybe top 10 of favorite Cheap Trick songs. My least favorite, and as I said earlier, I got to say this. I'm not gonna pick a song I dislike because I really like this song. But you let a lot of people down. And I think You Let a Lot of People Down is the most sounding song that would fit perfectly on the first album. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I love Shelter. I love It All Comes Back to You. You figured probably one of those two. 8 Miles Low, too, is another one I would put really up there,
That's a great song, yeah.
And also the structure of Carnival Game is so perfect. That's why it's very hard to pick a favorite, but I'm sticking with Anytime. How about you, BJ?
I gotta say my favorite is Say Goodbye because that is a masterpiece of a song. That's like a masterclass of songwriting there. So, and the sound of the song is so perfect too. Just everything about it is amazing. And looking at this list, I guess my least favorite is Baby No More. I think that would be, but I like every song on here. So.
Yeah, Baby No More was one they never played live. Well, at least I remember seeing them play Wrong All Along all the time instead of that, And
yeah, they played almost all of this record live. I saw them a lot back then.
Me too.
And yeah, almost every song on here they played live. Yeah, but I don't remember Baby No More, and no. I don't think they did It All Comes Back to You. No, probably every other song.
I was gonna say that I did see them. I saw them with Motley Crue once. That they opened that show, and then I saw them do a headline show where they played the whole album except for Baby No More and It All Comes Back to You. But
yeah, they had a lot of these. Yeah, they were all in the set. Yeah,
I didn't like Baby Talk. Did you like that song?
Yeah, no. I like, but I don't like what Albini did with it.
I hate Steve Albini. I hate that In Color. Do you guys hear that? Oh, of course.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Robert Lawson knows how I feel about that.
I can't stand Steve Albini. I can't stand him. It's
no, like, there's a Baby Talk demo that's great that he didn't ruin.
Yeah, it's better than what was played.
I didn't mind Clock Strikes 10. That was the only one. Still not as good as the In Color or Budokan version. But if I was to pick my favorite off that was the only one that I was like, all right, this one's okay. I mean, not great, but the guy's just terrible. I don't get why he's so popular. His sound is just, I don't know. It just sounds like a mess to me.
If you're ever following along on the Cheap Talk Facebook page, whenever anybody mentions anything about the Albini sessions and about how great they are, I always tag BJ in it. and I always say, Brian loves this album.
Yeah.
just to needle him a bit.
I was so curious to hear it too because I knew they were unhappy with the album. I was like, all right, this is going to be raw. And I didn't really know Steve Albini at the time. Then I heard it and I was like, this doesn't sound finished. It doesn't sound like it's mixed or nothing. But then I found out later on, listening to his other stuff, I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is finished. This guy.
Oh, yeah, I always say Albini did a really great job of pressing record when they played live in the studio. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, that's his thing. He doesn't like to be credited even as producer. Like on a lot of the albums that he does, he insists that his credit is just like recorded by Steve Albini. So that's his thing.
He's so hip. Robert, what's your favorite and least favorite off this?
Boy, really hard to pick. I love this record so much. I like what you said about Anytime, Ralph. That's like even just from the beginning when you hear Bun do that little fill, you just know you're in for something different.
Yeah.
Like this is a real rock record. So I love that. I also agree with you. The structure of Carnival Game is fantastic. Uh, Even, I know you guys are saying you let a lot of people down, but I love that it like recycles some of the lyrics from Violins.
Violins, yes.
Yeah.
So there's just so much going on. I love Wrong All Along. I mean, all the guys are just totally bringing their A game, not only in terms of songwriting, but just in the performance. Like they all sound great. All the guitars sound fantastic. It's really a 10 out of 10 album. If you had to break it down to like your top, I don't know, 5 Cheap Trick records or something, I think this has to be on the list. It's just a phenomenal piece of work.
Yeah, you let a lot of people down on Lap of Luxury. That'd be my favorite song off there, and Busted. You know what I mean? So like my least favorite would be my favorite on The Doctor and all the '80s albums. But Ken, least and favorite,
Well,
least and favorite. You're always backwards.
I don't know which one to pick for worst because there's no bad songs on this album. I could go with Baby No More or Wrong All Along. The only sin that Wrong All Along has is the way it ends.
Jesus
It
Christ,
just,
really gone to hell.
Mm.
yeah, it's like, oh well, I guess the song's over.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, it almost sounds like when someone's trying to tell you this big story and they go and they like bury the whole lead. You know what I mean? It's like, and then the guy's got a gun to the guy's head, and then it all worked out. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, that's it. You know?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like while they were recording it, the pizza arrived. You know?
There you go. There you go. But as far as greatness on this, it's everywhere. As you said, Anytime. I echo that 100%. Shelter, so goddamn amazing. Carnival,
yeah, sad.
and I mean, I've been there. If you've not been there, you're going to be. With somebody somewhere sometime.
Well, if any of my parents pass away, I don't think I'll ever listen to that song again. Because even with them alive, I get depressed listening to it. Talking about Shelter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got Carnival Games, which again, going through a divorce, man, that's that song. That's what it's all about right there. And Say Goodbye, the definite thing. So I'm going to go with Say Goodbye. It is so hard to pick off this album, but it is sheer perfection. It is sheer perfection.
I got divorced just so I could understand this album better.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to go get divorced. I got to go get married first.
The album's
Yeah.
about their divorce from Adam, Annie. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
right. That's right.
All right, guys. So let's stop right here, and we'll come back for the end, the finale of the Cheap Trick discography talk. Are you all down for that? You down for that, BJ?
Gobble my schmack.
Yeah. Thrash 'em a gob. How about you, Ken? You down to smack 'em a gob some more?
Schmack 'em a gob, baby. Let's do it. I'm ready. Down for part 4. Let's do it. One more. We got one more in us, right? Let's do it.
Well, it all depends. If Robert doesn't want to do it, we're not doing it. Do you want to do it, Robert?
I'd love to get into part 4 and especially discuss Clive Palmer's favorite album, Christmas Christmas.
Awesome.
There you
go. Did you put your pants back on?
All
right. Till next time, guys. Schmack 'em a gob.
Schmack 'em a gob.
All right, I'm inside the vault and the guys are gone. But they will be back next week. Hope you guys come back next week. Hope you're enjoying our Cheap Trick discography discussion, roundhouse table. And thank you so much for listening. I'm going to leave you with this from the vault. This is a band I absolutely love called Raven. And I bumped into the guitar player of Raven at a Cheap Trick show. And become friendly with the Gallagher brothers. And they're both big Cheap Trick fans. and they did a cover of He's a Whore. And here it is. So thanks for watching. Until next week, schmack 'em a gob.